Hey, this is Marlon Dundas, your host of the Beautiful Minds podcast. Today's episode is with Harrison Schultz of the 420 Fight Club, as well as the Occupy Wall Street movement. Um, this particular episode is a bit crazy. It went off the rails a little bit, which is fun and definitely something that worked well in our favor, especially given our topics. So. Um, I hope you enjoy listening to as much as I did. It was pretty cool sitting there and listening to Harrison just go on and on about um, our banking system and just just the way that our current politics are constructed. So, without further ado, here's Harrison Schultz. On Harrison Schultz of 420 Fight Club, the Occupy Wall Street movement, and what else?
The New School for Social Research.
Got you. Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty much it right now.
Got you. Real quick, Chance Encounter.
Yeah.
This past Saturday,
Yep.
I was taking part in some activism work at Washington Square Park with the Cannabis Cultural Association. I was, recording up a piece for Faces for thebeautifulminds.com. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
Yeah.
Somebody, please. I love what I did. My first time ever doing it.
That's cool.
And it came out to be pretty. For a beginner, I think I surprised myself. So met Harrison there, and struck up a conversation and got to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
And I decided I need to have you on.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, what we were talking about. I'm like, we can't just be sharing this conversation between ourselves. I would love to record.
Yeah.
I have a podcast, and you said, when can I do it? And
Yeah, yeah. This is my job.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I do.
It's good to have you. So,
Thanks.
First and foremost, you're part of the 420 Fight Club. What is that?
It's a new movement.
Mm-hmm.
It's an idea.
Okay.
It's a lifestyle. It's not something I came up with. It's just something I identified and gave a name to.
Mm-hmm.
420 Fight Club is me and a bunch of my friends enjoying some cannabis, practicing some martial arts in order to raise awareness and to start a new public conversation in this country about monetary reform, and specifically about a piece of legislation called the National Emergency Employment Defense Act.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we meet every Friday, as long as the weather's nice, almost every Friday. And we hang out, we get high, and we practice martial arts right across the street from the Federal Reserve. Yeah, it's been going really well.
How long have you been doing it for?
This iteration's been going on for about a year. We started last summer, and we took a break over the winter. We kept meeting and getting high and practicing martial arts. We just did it indoors.
Not outside, exactly.
Yeah, like I've spent a lot of time out in inclement weather for the cause, and I'm now a fair weather revolutionary. I don't believe in suffering for my cause, and I absolutely have to in order to win.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, but yeah, now that it's summer again, we've been getting back outside in front of the Fed almost every week, and
do you get a reaction at all?
oh yeah, the locals love it.
The locals love it, but if someone's coming out with a suit and tie from Federal Reserve Building, are they too happy to see you?
No, they'll think it's cool.
Okay.
We're practicing Kali, which is a Filipino martial art, which starts with sticks and knives.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, we're just using rubber knives. We're not using real blades.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, like everyone identifies it as martial arts. They see orderly, disciplined activity. They don't see some dangerous, violent scene. Like we get a lot of people looking at us, and then that gives me the chance to go out, hand out a flyer, and say, "Hey, we're 420 Fight Club. We're raising awareness for the NEED Act."
That's exactly what you did to me.
Yeah, and so the NEED Act. I mean, so it's just, the martial arts and the weed's not quite the visible part, but it it draws people in so that I don't have to go out to people and like beat them over the head with this stuff in order to annoy them.
Right.
Like the whole idea, the whole success of Occupy Wall Street, what I learned from that was that you need to create some kind of spectacle. You need to start some kind of game, have some kind of fun to make people come to you so that you can get the opportunity to get your message across.
You need to connect with them in some way, shape, or form in order to have them hear you out.
You got to connect with them, but moreover than that, you have to make them interested.
Uh-huh.
You have to
Meet them halfway.
What are you doing? Why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is this? Like, this looks cool. Like, you don't want to, like, I hate, I've been to so many different kinds of protests over the past, 7 years or so, even longer. I've been going to stuff my whole life, but, like a traditional protest with, lots of signs and angry speakers and a podium and like lots of people. I mean, I've seen that turn people away, just as much as it brings people together. I mean, like, so 420 Fight Club is like the most advanced protest I can possibly create. I'm trying to do it's a protest against traditional protesting, I guess. It's not even a protest. It's a demonstration for something.
Okay.
It's not a protest against anything.
Mm-hmm. It's how do I put it? It's not conventional. You know that.
It's deliberately unconventional.
Right. And me being a millennial, a lot of the people who I share the same age group with don't agree necessarily with that form of protest. And I believe, I'll say it right now,
Yeah.
we're live too on
Yeah.
Facebook. I strongly believe in that, in your way of protesting.
Right.
Because what is the means to the end? What's the end that you're seeking? Do you seek to show someone up, or do you seek to change their mind? Now, don't get me wrong. There are certain
I'm
times
seeking
where
money. I'm seeking real money, not this fake stuff that the Federal Reserve is circulating. And we don't have any real money in this country. We have debt circulating as money. We're fighting for a monetary system that's based on actual equity, not on debt.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
we'll get into that in a second when I ask you about
jumping ahead a little bit.
Right.
But your point about protesting,
the art of
demonstrating
protesting,
the
right?
art of it, yeah. I had something. I kind of lost it.
Oh, yeah. So your art of protesting is one that I particularly speak about in close quarters with my friends and family, and it's not something that's very it's not very. You got it.
Yeah.
It's something that's very conventional with my age group.
Right.
That's what I was saying. In my opinion, I'm always trying to focus on the end. What's the end that I seek? By me picketing outside of an office building or something, or by me protesting or marching, am I getting away from what I'm like? Am I getting away from what I'm trying to do ultimately, and am I keeping in mind, this is the end, that every single decision I make while I'm attached to this movement is going to accomplish.
Right.
And
you want to know that you're not wasting your time
exactly,
and your energy.
And wasting time and energy, also not staying true to what it is exactly that got you there.
Yeah.
And this is why I find it very interesting that you found that way of using the 420 Fight Club as a way to do that.
Right.
Because people are now coming to you of what are you guys doing, and you're unconventionally luring them in, and then.
I mean, nobody wants to. I take this back. There are some people out there who want to jump right into a deep historical conversation about monetary history and monetary reform. Those people are typically older. But younger millennials who are traumatized from so much economic and parental and legal and just abuse and violence don't have the energy or the brain cells to sit down and jump into a boring ass conversation. We're not conditioned to think that way. Like our media doesn't function on logic. Our media functions on sensationalism. It functions on controversy. It functions, to use a more scientific term, on cognitive dissonance.
Mm-hmm.
It functions on like what, like that disruption. Or it doesn't function on good news.
Right.
And so it's bait and switch. Like, hey, look at this 425 Club. This is some crazy. Like I'm deliberately playing off stereotypes in order to get the media, not just other people, but the media to come to me.
Mm-hmm.
You say 425 Club, people think like crazy drug infused violence, just like the movie Fight Club. But then that's the bait. But the switch is like, whoa, wait, cannabis is actually an debilitating. It's a functional drug. It's not debilitating.
Right.
Wait, like these they're just studying martial arts. They're not getting violent. Martial arts aren't as violent as Hollywood makes it out to be. And moreover, like these people aren't dumb. They're talking about an actual bill that will actually help everyone in this country.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of cognitive dissonance is basically what allowed Occupy to change the conversation in 2011.
Okay. All right. So, two topics we have to touch on:
Yeah.
the Occupy movement
Yeah.
and the NEED Act. So,
Right.
I'll go with first the Occupy movement because that's possibly what everyone here knows. Everyone who's watching right now on the live stream.
I hope so.
It was like the talk of my freshman year in college.
Good.
I remember that was when it was at the height of its activism, of its reaction from the media and from the viewing public. So, you were involved in the Occupy movement. How? What was your role and what went on behind the scenes?
I got involved with Occupy Wall Street before it blew up, before it was cool.
Right.
I was working in advertising at the time to support my graduate studies in sociology, and I got into graduate school to avoid corporate America altogether in the first place. But it turns out corporate America was kind of cool in some ways. But I was working in the advertising industry for clients like ExxonMobil,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I'm learning how the sausage of capitalism is made. But I was long anarchist Marxist identification. So I was like, what the hell am I doing in corporate America, working for ExxonMobil? And so I started reading Adbusters again, just to kind of look for ways like, okay, well, how can I use all this experience from advertising to try to do something, to try to make things a little bit better? So I started reading Adbusters again. I saw the poster, the ad for Occupy Wall Street. It must have been in July. It was the ballerina on the bowl poster, which is fairly infamous now.
What year was this, by the way?
2011.
Okay.
This would have been like June, July of 2011.
Okay.
And so I went on to Adbusters. I saw that there was a meeting taking place in New York. And it was New Yorkers Against Budget Cuts were the first people. They had just got done doing an occupation called Bloombergville,
Okay.
which didn't attract as much attention, but they were sleeping out in front of City Hall.
Okay.
And even though they didn't quite get the same media attention, they learned a lot. Like, they knew how to get a lot of food in order to keep people there. They knew how to work the Twitter and the Facebook game. And you got to remember, too, that this was 2011, so Walkerville, the uprisings in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There was a big local uprising there against Governor Scott Walker, who was trying to destroy the unions. This was also the year that of Arab Spring, and that was earlier in 2011. And then there was actually an uprising in Spain, like around May, before that.
So the climate was kind of ripe for that kind of movement here.
Dude, there were so many people who were just like, what are we? Let's go.
Right. Okay.
And not only that, but we saw what was working for them. Yeah, there were people who came directly over from Spain to advise us on how to live stream and use Twitter.
Okay.
It was a global movement from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to another meeting on August 2nd. I met Justino Tooney, an activist who put together the OccupyWallStreet.org site. And I kind of talked about my weird, anarcho-syndical plans to use analytics to try to monetize our social media content so we could try to make some money to support ourselves while we were out there.
Mm-hmm.
Michael White, the dude who founded Occupy Wall Street from Adbusters, hated it, like big media uprising over that. Like, I've started so much shit. You can just Google my name, just see like a laundry list of like toxic articles.
So I'm guessing you guys don't see eye to eye with each other.
I don't even we don't talk. I mean, like, but like, just one little minor drama and lot of drama. I mean, so I met Justine. I had access to this website, and I was looking at data and website traffic to the site, and I started writing like reports on it to other people once I started seeing that we were getting more attention. And the other thing I did was I started hanging out with people from the Emerging Arts and Culture Committee of Occupy Wall Street. They were meeting in like August, and there was about like 12 people. I was like one of the 12 who we decided to go out and do a test run to see if we could sleep out on Wall Street just to see how it would go. We were supposed to do it. The movement was officially supposed to start on September 17th, but we decided to go out. It was like August or September 2nd. We wanted to go out just to camp out overnight to see what would happen, just to get a sense of what to expect. 12 of us went out. It was fun. Like, I thought it was going to be insane, but like we had like a really good time. We just went out, we threw some blankets down. I started teaching some capoeira. I had some other friends who, a friend brought a guitar. He was playing guitar. Like, it was cool. It was like a really nice time.
Mm-hmm.
But then one of my friends, he totally fucking ruined it. I don't know if I can swear.
You can go ahead. Yeah.
Cool. He ruined it by like giving this angry speech about the coming of the second great American Revolution, and like the people who were talking to us being like, "Whoa, what are you guys doing?" Like instantly, just by having a good time, people were coming towards us.
Right.
What is this?
Mm-hmm.
But after he kind of got a little bit angrier, you see the pedestrians back away. You see the NYPD get closer.
Oh, damn. Mm-hmm.
Tit for tat starts going. NYPD are like, all right, y'all got to move, otherwise you're going to get arrested. I'm like, I got to go to work tomorrow. I'm going to put my shoes on. Just give me a second, officer. My other friends are like, no, I have the right to be here, blah, 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 blah. So 9 of us got arrested.
Okay.
But one of the other people who didn't get arrested was filming the whole thing. They also went to the new school. They edited the video footage together, put out a video on YouTube, and it went crazy. Just like hundreds of views right away.
Wow.
And I noticed that traffic to the OccupyWallStreet.org site started going up. Mm-hmm. The next meeting we had in Tompkins Square Park after that, it was totally different. Because before, everyone was arguing over whether or not this would be successful. Now it was like, holy shit, people already got arrested. Like, of course something is going to happen. And so the news started spreading, and then it was not like, all right, like, we didn't know what was going to happen,
mm-hmm.
but we knew something was going to happen. We didn't know if we were going to be able to camp out. We just took it one step at a time. Like, all right, let's all get together on this day. Mm-hmm. And then, we kind of got moved over to Zuccotti Park. It was kind of like we, the protesters, were tired of marching around down there.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't really part of, I couldn't stand the General Assemblies. I mostly worked on the fringe of the movement. I liked the immediate direct actions and stuff, but Zuccotti was a public park in the middle of the city where people could go. The police had no real authority to kick anybody out.
Uh-huh.
So that's where people threw tents or sleeping bags down.
And that became the site of the Occupy movement for the next
3 months.
3 months.
More or less. Got evicted on November 15th.
Okay.
So September 17th to November 15th.
So were you involved at all at the time that it was that they were evicted?
Yeah, I mean, I was involved. I didn't go to the eviction. Like, I mean, by the time it got evicted, I was over it. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the whole situation had gotten really dangerous, and the occupation had been neutralized by the authorities, by Homeland Security specifically. On October 15th, there was an attempt to evict the park that failed because the People's Sanitation Committee, some really dedicated occupiers, got a bunch of brooms and mops, handed them out to people from the community, and the community came together to clean up the park so that
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it was big news. So there was no pretext to evict the occupation.
Okay.
So that was October 15th. A month late. So that's when the authorities backed off. The NYPD, Homeland, everyone backed off. But what they did, and there's numerous eyewitness reports about this,
Yeah.
they started emptying their jails. They started letting people out from jail and telling them to go to Zuccotti for free food and free like supplies and stuff. Like there was one night after a big rally in Times Square where a woman who had been arrested, Lauren, also on the sanitation committee, she camped at. She needed a place to crash. Mutual friends. She wound up at my place, and she was like, "Yeah, they're telling like scumbags to go to Zuccotti."
So the wait.
Yeah, the
The
NYPD was
saying-
sending dangerous people down to Zuccotti Park in order to discredit the movement.
The NYPD was sending people from their own.
Drunks, rapists, assaults.
This is the first time I'm hearing about this.
It was reported in a paper called the Daily Kiosk, I believe.
Mhm.
The other thing that my other role in Occupy, I wound up becoming something of an official spokesperson because I was involved with OccupyWallStreet.org. I was willing to go do public speaking, and I look good in a suit, frankly. So, like, I was on Fox and MSNBC a lot talking about why we don't have goals in Occupy.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't understand anarchism and this anarcho-syndicalist tradition of creating our own alternative structures to compete with capitalism. You know, traditional hardcore Marxists are like, yo, we need to go seize the factories. We need to go take control over the means of production. We need to get rid of the bosses. The anarchists are like, that sounds like too much work. I'd rather just make my own business and make a better product and outcompete them. I don't think either. I think you need both.
Right.
You know, you need that Mondragon
balance.
style cooperative, that worker-owned structure that Noam Chomsky advocates. But at the same time, we got to take our damn monetary system back. So, back to Occupy. I was doing a lot of public speaking on Fox and MSNBC, taking some flack within it from within the Occupy community for being so visible, all kinds of death threats and stuff too. But that was a big part of what I was doing. And one time when I was on Sean Hannity's show, they accused Occupy of being like a safe haven for sexual predators and rapists and stuff in order to discredit the movement.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah,
I
so
heard
I
about
was
people
like,
being raped or
that's
whatever in the
because
park.
of the NYPD sending these people down to the park.
Mhm.
And that was like too much for Fox News. Like I got bashed hardcore for that.
Yeah,
for
'cause I mean-
pointing that out.
I'm not. It's how do I put it? Because you're up against these large media conglomerates, and the narrative being pushed was that people were being raped. There was illegal activity going on in Zuccotti Park, and your counter argument is that the NYPD was involved in this. And now I'm hearing, like, I'm the general public, I'm the general viewer. Now I'm hearing about this, and now, but I've always heard of whatever illegal activity was supposedly happening there. So you're up against these large media outlets. So when you say something like that on national television,
I look crazy.
yes, there we go. I didn't want to say it, but yes, you look crazy.
That's
damn.
fun. That's fun. Not the first fucking time in my life people thought I was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Jesus, I'll definitely look into that. I've never heard that before. Like, that's an exclusive. I'm sure a lot of people just heard.
It's not new news. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are new to it. Yo, would you mind if I go to the bathroom real quick, grab another refill?
No-
Maybe
no
there's
problem.
some comments or something. We
No
could,
problem. Yeah.
Yeah?
Go on.
If that's cool, I'll be right back.
Right ahead,
Yeah. Beer's too expensive for me, so I gotta load up on it whenever I can get it for free.
Mm-hmm. Just so we document this for the podcast. So I think Harrison's on his fourth beer now, and like 3 bathroom breaks.
Yeah.
We're gonna document this when we have you on again. We're gonna compare the 2 times and see if it changes.
Right.
So great.
Are
So
there any comments or questions?
no, not yet. No comments, no questions yet.
Right on.
But we'll those usually come after anyway.
Dope. Okay.
So there's gonna sure to be some blog posts in the future about
Cool.
this as well too. So just stay tuned.
Dope,
and then we'll have you as our correspondent to respond to those
Yeah.
to those questions, comments,
Happily.
concerns. So, thank you. Um, so we pretty much, I think, in my opinion, broke some news to me
Yeah.
about the Occupy movement. So, now we're gonna go to the Need Act, which is right now the I want to say the core of the 420 Fight Club.
It's our key demand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what exactly is the Need Act?
What is the Matrix?
Right, exactly. What are the details that
Yeah.
the key points? I know you have a few key points detailed in
Right.
your one pager.
Yeah.
Can you care to expand on those and
Mhm.
just tell the viewing public what it is exactly that you're looking to represent?
Well, long story short, the NEAT Act is the one demand that Occupy Wall Street should have had back in 2011. Had I talked about the NEAT Act on Fox and MSNBC back when we had that media attention, I'm confident that the economic recession would be completely over by now.
Wow. Wow. All
There'd be
right.
a lot of people who would have died by now.
Uh-huh.
But the the NEAT Act is monetary reform. The NEAT Act takes our monetary system and our central bank, specifically the Federal Reserve banking system, it takes that away from the 1%, away from Wall Street, and it returns the power of creating money to the 99%.
How? How?
So right now the Federal Reserve is like it doesn't have any oversight. So the NEAT Act doesn't end the Fed like a lot of conservative movements want to. It doesn't audit the Fed. Go ahead, audit it. Like find out where all that missing 16 trillion went to and what weapons that paid for mass destruction. But what do you do about it then? You have to nationalize this bank. This bank cannot belong to private hands. The power of printing money has to be nationalized. And so what happens is the Federal Reserve structure stays intact. The money doesn't stop flowing. But what happens is the Federal Reserve Board of Governors gets replaced with a new monetary authority, which gets appointed. It's bipartisan, staggered appointments. So it's like a presidential appointment. So it's sort of like a Supreme Court for monetary affairs. I forget which specific section of the bill stipulates this out. But this bill basically ensures that the Federal Reserve is now spending money into existence. Congress has to make sure that the Fed is doing its budgeting and making sure that there's enough money for livable wages, maintaining our infrastructure, our roads, our highways, our public transportation. Now, Congress will have to make sure that the Federal Reserve is spending enough money on healthcare, on education.
Mm-hmm.
This means that political elections are now fully funded. If you're worried about the Russian influence on our current election, the NEAT Act is also for you. If you hate Citizens United, the NEAT Act is for you. And so the NEAT Act it creates in taking our monetary system back from the 1%, and this means that we now have grassroots economics. Instead of money trickling down through debt, most people don't even know how money in this country gets created.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the first problem. The main thing you need to know about the NEAT Act is that it gets you out of debt if you have medical, housing, credit card, student, any kind of debt. The NEAT Act will fix that for you.
Mm-hmm.
We won't even be paying utility bills or internet bills or heat bills or any of that once the NEAT Act gets passed. There's no reason for any of that shit. No reason. Once you get the monetary system and how simple this is, it's hard to go about your normal life.
Yeah, but it seems as if you're asking people to you're going against the privatization of
Money.
there we go.
Just
And-
money. We're not going against the privatization of hospitals or
But
banks. We're not going against the
that
privatization
word-
of armies. We're not going against the privatization of schools.
Right. Yeah.
That can all continue to happen. The one thing, all of that is happening. The reason why all of this privatization, all these other sectors is even possible to begin with is because we have a privately owned monetary system, which is not how things should work. That's the worst possible monetary system you can design. And we know this because of history.
Mm-hmm. The Lost Science of Money.
The Lost Science of Money. This is a book written by Steven Zarlenga, who died just a few short weeks ago.
Interesting. Okay.
Who knows how many freaking secrets he took with him to his grave.
Mm-hmm.
But he laid out the important stuff in this book here. This book is a reinterpretation of Western culture from the standpoint of how money gets created. And long story short, Dennis Kucinich read this book. Dennis Kucinich ran against Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton in 2008.
Okay.
Great senator, voted against the Patriot Act. And because he was doing a good job, he got kicked out, but he's still active. After Kucinich read this book, he created the NEAT Act based on what he learned from this book. And Steven Zarlenga and some of his aides played a key role in helping this bill get created.
Okay.
But what we find when we look at actual history of money, as opposed to economic theory, as opposed to what economists say should happen, what we find is that civilizations reach their greatest achievements. Ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, ancient Samaria, even here in the United States, we won the Revolutionary War. We won. The Union was preserved during the Civil War through public currency, through publicly owned currency, not through privately owned currency. So the argument is that the most stable, prosperous societies utilize public currency, valueless money, money created by law,
Okay.
as opposed to money backed by some sort of seemingly precious commodity like gold or silver or oil.
Mm-hmm.
This comes directly from Aristotle's observations regarding money.
Okay.
Aristotle wrote in the Ethics that money should be based on law, not on a commodity. So the notion here is that money is just like math or music or even martial arts. It's not a real thing. It's something that exists when you get a lot of people together.
Mm-hmm.
There's another book I should have brought called Debt, the First 5,000 Years by David Graeber,
Mm-hmm.
who was also involved in Occupy Wall Street. He helped bring the General Assembly procedures to the movement. He was involved in 1999 with the Battle of Seattle. But he wrote a history of debt, the first 5,000 years. And the thing that he's finding in this book is that there's no such thing as society without, not just without money, but without debt.
Okay.
Debt is like the basis of Western culture. And he observed that, like Zarlenga, that this whole myth of barter, this whole idea like, okay, John the milk farmer had all the milk, and the shoesmith had the shoes, but like the milk farmer didn't need the shoes, so they made money in order to facilitate that exchange. It's like, no, like that's not what we see. We don't see money arising like that. Like money in the past was typically alive. It was seeds or animals. That's what people used as the medium of exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Graeber talks about how, like, in Ireland, people would use rusty nails. In Africa, people would use cowrie shells or cows. Cows were a very common unit of money. One cow was worth 140 talents of gold, which was equivalent to 3 to 4 slave women.
Wow. One cow.
Yeah, one cow. Yeah. And so what you would see back in the ancient world, back in antiquity, is people would loan this grain or these animals out to each other. You would borrow that. If the cow produced more offspring or if the seed produced a good harvest in abundance, it was common to return that animal or that seed that you borrowed with some more of the animal or the seed that you produced.
Okay.
This is the origin of interest. This is how interest starts.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
Money comes into play because of priests. In ancient Greece, specifically the temples, they would hoard gold. There'd be this overabundance of gold. And so sometimes, when there was all this extra gold, people would start using gold as money instead of cows or seed. But this practice of still charging interest, this idea of like, I'm going to give you some gold, now you have to give me more gold back. We call that the usury error. That's a holdover from this tradition of expecting more seed or more animals back with what you give them.
Mm-hmm.
The difference, of course, being that animals and seed are living things that can reproduce. Money is not.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of talk about Marxist commodity fetishism here. We call this the usury error. This is the beginning of usury. This is the beginning of slavery, essentially. When we say, hey, I'm going to give you this amount of money and I'm going to expect more of that money back somehow.
Yeah.
That's a holdover from when we used to loan out animals and interest as money. There was never a point in time when people relied on barter. Barter typically happens like between social groups, this Graeber notes, and it usually happens like it's usually like fixed amounts. So like, you know, in Africa you see people trading like a certain amount of spears for a certain amount of cloth or something. You know, even when people are in situations where they don't have access to money, like prisons, you see people start to create an alternative currency system, often out of cigarettes. You know, same thing would happen in POW camps.
Got you.
So
Okay.
money is just a natural thing that people establish. Anything can be a money system.
Right. But here's what you're up against. When you say you're against the anti-privatization of anything, there's a faction of people out there automatically call you a commie.
Well, those people are traitors.
Right.
Because Article 1, Section 5, Clause 8 of the United States Constitution gives our Congress the right and indeed the responsibility to coin and regulate the value of money. All right, the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 abdicates that power to this private banking cartel.
Mm-hmm.
So they can call me a commie all they want. They're actual traitors to our United States government.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm not disputing that, but the problem is that these people are everyday people like you and I who need more money, who are the ones that believe that whatever work they're doing is probably is not giving them back the what they're worth.
Yeah, and they're right.
Right, and they're the ones you'll need on your side, or you'll need more of them on your side than you think. But
well,
because like obviously anyone who's the 1% or anyone who's close to the 1% is not going to be on your side because it's against their interest.
Not necessarily.
Well, for every Warren Buffett, there's 4, 5, 6. You know, like Donald Sterling's. Like, well, he was on the liberal side as well. But a lot of billionaires out there who are protecting their own self interest, the Koch brothers or whatever. I mean, but you're not arguing. You're not I'm making a broader point here. You're not arguing facts and figures. You're arguing against like predetermined ideas of what of ways of life. If I give in to you, essentially nationalizing something that
our monetary system,
then that means I'm anti-American because I'm going against my American values. I'm going against. I'm putting things back into the hands of the government.
No.
And no, but they're gonna. There's people out there.
That's what Fox News is gonna say. We're not talking about people. We're talking about Fox News.
and those people, and there are people out there who will turn on the TV, who already have that determined confirmation bias ready to go, turning on that TV and whatever is said to them by whether it be Fox News, Breitbart, whether it be themselves too, even reading any article or turning on this podcast or any mediums at which they receive their news or their current events of the day, they're already going to be viewing things through that lens.
Right. But they don't matter.
Okay.
Here's the thing. Like, most people don't know anything about actual movement building. Most people don't know anything about how social change actually takes place because too many people watch too many stupid Hollywood movies. You know? Like, the thing is that social change never occurs with a majority. It's always a minority of people fighting back. And, you know, like the American Revolution, I mean, it wasn't even a full third of the colonists that supported revolution or independence. There's a full third, if not more, of Tories, people who are completely legal or completely loyal to the crown. And there's probably an even bigger third who didn't care one way or another. Never doubt that a small, dedicated, thoughtful group of citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has, according to Margaret Mead. And when you actually look at different movements, when you look at the civil rights movements and all the drama that got started, that was usually groups of activists in like 2 to 6 people starting these huge changes. The other, so you only need, there's a really good TED talk by Erica Chenoweth about how you only need about 1 to 3% of a population in order to completely change things on a structural basis. I don't give a rat's ass about what people think. You can keep thinking the earth is flat if you really want. You can keep thinking that climate change isn't real if you want. I can change the monetary system much more easily than I can change your ignorance. Like that's the good news. And the thing is that in terms of these everyday working class conservative people who turn on Fox News and are going to look at this as un-American, this is America. Like there would be no America without sovereign currency. The whole American Revolution was fought over a monetary system. Ben Franklin said, "Yo, I don't give a rat's ass how much the king taxes me as long as we can make our own money." The revolution was paid for with continental currencies, which the Continental Congress just made up out of nothing. They just made it up out of thin air. It was just an IOU, and they decided it was worthwhile. That's how they paid for their guns. That's how they paid for the food, which kept the Continental Army fighting. The only reason that monetary system failed, according to Zarlenga, is because the British counterfeited that money to the point where it lost all value.
Okay.
And that's something that the Brits did to lots of other colonies across the world. So we have a rich American tradition of sovereign currency. And like I said, we're just fighting for Section 1, Clause 5, Section 1, Clause 8, Line 5 of the United States Constitution, which gives Congress the right and the responsibility to coin and regulate the value of money.
Section 1, Clause 8, Line 5.
And the half step, what we want Congress to hold hearings on how money is actually created in this country and how it's supposed to be created.
Okay.
Most people think that the way money works in this society is that we loan our money to the banks, and then the banks make loans off of our deposits. That's not true. The banks make money out of nothing, and they give it away, and they charge interest back. And we, the people, have to go to real jobs, real blood, real sweat, real labor, real tears, in order to make enough money to pay back that interest to our government, and our government pays it back to the private banking cartel. So
that was one hell of a rabbit hole. I got you riled up.
I mean,
that was good. I mean,
once you get this stuff, once you start seeing that our current monetary system forces people to work way harder than they should be.
Right.
Once you realize that,
but you're right. You're totally right.
Uh-huh.
And our generation, more than ever before, are the ones who are protesting that.
No, they're not, because they don't understand this.
No. But we're protesting the worth, right? Because I think more than ever, we're the ones that are standing there saying we're not being paid enough. We're not being whatever is not being done enough. That whether it be we're not getting enough representation, whether it be we're not getting enough money, whether it be that we're not getting enough of a voice through different mediums. Which is why someone like Bernie Sanders was so popular. It was because he identified so well with our generation. But as you see what happened to Bernie Sanders, there's a strong contingent of people out there whose personal interests are tied up in the way things used to be and the way things are right now.
Yeah, of course.
So they're not going to budge. And you're right. You may be right. You need between 3 and 5% of a population in order to make a change. But I'm looking at it as one of those, just a typical viewer.
Yeah,
Uh, generally on the outside here,
it looks like a long shot.
I mean,
It
looks
looks
like a long.
impossible.
It looks like a long shot. I mean, a lot of it as well. I mean, you're far more versed in this than I am.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. A lot of the things you just mentioned, I'm hearing about them for the first time. I have a lot of reading to do today.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Yeah, exactly. And so I really don't understand that. Where you're coming from. I understand the thought behind it, but once again, from a lay person, it's looking to me like it's going to be a long shot.
It's we're not gonna.
Not because, but it's not because of policy. It's not
Yeah.
because of opinions. It's because you're fighting against something that's so established. That way of thinking is not even a philosophy. It's just a way of it's a way things used to be.
Yeah.
And when you and I met a few days ago for a cannabis awareness and legalization movement,
Mm-hmm.
and look at something like that, which is that movement's been going for years, decades. Like it's been going since the hippie movement.
And I mean, people say that we were probably closer to having. People are saying that we were probably closer to real legalization back then than we are even now.
So then, when you say that, and I'm looking at it, because I never really followed it up until about, I want to say 6 months ago is when I really started following
Yeah.
this movement, and the only argument against the criminalization of marijuana of weed is, well, we've never done it before and we don't know enough about it. And it's like, no, if you can legalize alcohol and prescription drugs are out there and easy to get from any, like, if you have you can even have a connection,
Yeah.
who can get it for you. What's the argument? Like, it doesn't make any sense because long story
So
short,
why is
you're
it still
fighting.
legal?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't make sense why it makes every bit of sense to legalize it, but it's not.
So you're
So
fighting.
what makes me think that we can get a more sane monetary system?
So
set up?
you're fighting against something that doesn't make any sense. Is my point.
Yeah.
And
You're
it's
fighting
going-
against someone who's going to tell you 2 + 2 = 5.
and it's going to be in my opinion, it was looking like a lifelong battle that you're about to uphold.
That's fine. Resistance is fun, not futile. I like doing this stuff more than going to, a 9 to 5 type situation every day. But
Mhm.
I actually think that we have a better chance of getting Congress to hold hearings on monetary creation reform before we get weed truly legalized in this country.
So you think this is going to happen before weed is legalized nationally? The Need Act will,
I don't think it's going to get turned into law before we get
but it'll be
legalized.
recognized
But,
before.
but the conversation will change overnight, and everyone's gonna be like, "What the fuck?" I guarantee you this. Henry Ford once said, "It is well and good that the people of this country do not understand the monetary system, for if they did, I fear there would be a revolution before morning." Things, like I used to have a sociology professor, a social theory professor, who would talk about how Marx and Engels used to like get on their horses and like wander around the factories and the slums, just like waiting for the revolution to happen, just waiting for some action to happen.
Mhm.
And I used to think that was just like the funniest thing. Like it doesn't happen that quick.
Right.
But the media cannot keep up with the pace of life. There are so many things, there are so many actions in this city alone that the media never reports on.
Mhm.
I've been a part of marches that have gone from 3 people to maybe 3,000 in the span of about an hour or two. I mean, like, shit can happen so fast that if you blink, you will miss it.
Mhm. So
It's like this. No one ever thought Donald Trump would become president. Did anyone think that was possible?
well, no one where we live.
So many people said, it'll never happen, it'll never happen, it'll never happen. You had so many people saying this will never happen
Yeah.
that eventually it was like, oh my God, this is fucking happening. What the
Yeah.
hell? It was a negatively fulfilled prophecy.
Right.
That's what we're doing.
Mhm.
We just got to spread the word about this. If 1 to 3% of the population starts saying that'll never happen, never, I guarantee you it'll happen.
Mhm.
That's just how history works.
I still haven't gotten over it that you just said that you think that the Need Act will be a national conversation before marijuana is legalized. And how many states is marijuana legalized in currently?
Recreationally,
Recreationally four, and then medically
24,
24.
23.
And I haven't heard of the Need Act until this past Saturday when you and I first met, and I consider myself to be well aware of what's going on in current events. So we'll follow up for sure.
Yeah.
Down the line, and
You know, Malthus, the population guy, the population growth guy, he talked about arithmetic versus geometric growth. Like at a certain point, our food population grows arithmetically, incrementally, whereas
Right.
our people population multiplies.
right,
The same thing sort of happens with movements. It goes real slow for a little while. You get like a few people joining in, but then at a certain point, it just if it's a good movement, if it's well designed,
mm-hmm.
it hits that viral, that geometric growth when just it multiplies and people keep talking to people keep talking to other people.
right. And you think it's coming soon, just because
I can't give you a date,
Right.
but I can tell you that I've only got like 2 more chapters of my dissertation to finish up before I can work on this shit full time. And I can tell you I am not the only monetary reformer in this country.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of the more visible ones, but I'm part of the Green Party. I'm a registered voter within the Green Party. I'm part of a group called Greens for Monetary Reform. And the NEAT Act is actually the official monetary plank of the Green Party.
Okay.
Jill Stein wouldn't have gotten slammed by John Oliver for saying that she wanted to make college completely free. Because, like, John Oliver, how are you going to pay for that? Sovereign currency, the NEAT Act. It's stipulated in that bill, universal education. It's not a pipe dream at all. But here's the thing, Jill Stein doesn't even fucking know about this. Here's the thing, Bernie Sanders doesn't even know about this. We reached out to Bernie Sanders to endorse this bill, but he's just too caught up in the hype.
He doesn't know about it, or maybe he doesn't.
He doesn't understand it.
Okay.
He doesn't get it yet. You can tell he doesn't get it yet. He wants to break up the banks. Let's break up the banks. Break up the banks. How? What's your mechanism? What's your legislative mechanism? Is that even the right thing to do? You don't need to break up the banks. The commercial banks can keep doing everything they're doing except make our money.
Now, but how many lawmakers have been presented with this bill?
Not enough.
Not enough.
We need new. It was introduced in 2011 by Joseph Conyers.
What state? Did he introduce it in the state first, or was it introduced to Congress?
Yeah, Congress.
Okay,
so,
okay.
Conyers is Ohio, I think, or something. Okay. I forget. I'm new to. I'm a sociologist. Like I took poli sci 101. I know that harassing your. I mean, here's the thing. Like the plan is simple. We get this broken in the news. People are like, what's the NEAT Act? What's the Matrix? What's the NEAT Act? Once you have that level of awareness, then it's a simple issue of, all right, call your Congress rep, tell them to support this bill. You start getting all those phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
That's time, that's money. Those officials, those politicians have to hire more aides. They have to record down every phone call, everything any one of their voters or constituents tells them to. If you get enough people telling them to do this, they get shut down. They can't go about any other business until they get this done.
Mm-hmm.
That's the disruption we create.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to get hundreds of millions of people out in the street. Armchair activism works.
Right.
If you're unemployed and you got nowhere else to go, yeah, go hang out with the people in the street.
Right.
Kill some time.
Right.
But look, if you're stuck behind some desk, some job, this is more powerful than the sticks and rubber knives I play with. We get 1 million people calling their representatives like on a daily, weekly basis demanding this bill. They're going to have to do it just to function.
Right. Well, I look forward to following up with you again
man.
for sure about this. And I feel a fair amount of my depth when I'm talking about our monetary system.
It's just something most people have never even heard before. And you're not supposed to.
Right.
Like our educational system is designed to steer you away from this. The entire profession of economics, supply and demand, which is all bullshit. Money is created by power. It's created by groups with military and religious power. But I mean, yeah. There's this is the beginning.
Yeah, and I hope, I mean, to get this episode out to as many people as possible, as many avenues as possible, and to kind of spark that discussion
Yeah.
between groups of people who otherwise wouldn't be thinking otherwise, thinking about it.
Word.
And hopefully, next time we have you on, we can have maybe someone who doesn't agree with it.
You know what you can do?
That's what I would love to do.
There
I
are
would love
people
to
who
s-
don't agree with it. You can find other organizations. Our key competitors
Right.
are the Public Banking Institute.
Okay.
They advocate for public banks, not necessarily public money. They want all the banks privatized so that the interest on the money that gets loaned out goes back to public use.
Okay.
That's insufficient to us. We don't like monetary reform is more radical than banking reform. We don't want dirty money funding our Green New Deal. We want green new money funding our Green New Deal.
Right.
The other people who don't agree with what we do are the modern money theory people, MMT. I don't even know what the fuck they advocate.
Modern
'Cause it's
money?
just it's too yeah, like it's just economics. I mean, like it's just jargon. They talk about tax rebates and stuff. We're talking about actual debt jubilee.
Right. Okay.
So there's plenty of people who think we're wacky.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like to recap our conversation. I mean, you were on, like, you guys haven't. You actually, let's just focus on you.
Oh, there's a whole army of people behind me
Exactly.
you can't see right
That's
now.
what I'm saying. Let's just focus on you on what we've discussed in the last 30 minutes, 40 minutes now. I think it's almost an hour actually.
So
And you have this insight that the NYPD planted criminals in the Occupy Wall Street
to discredit us.
Right. Then you have you broke news as well about the NEED Act to a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't know, and explaining that pretty much what we kind of already know is that the people who have the interest are gonna keep it regardless, right?
No.
They're gonna try to keep it.
They're gonna try to keep
There
it.
we
They're
go.
gonna
Not
fail.
going to.
They are going
Right.
to fail.
And it's like it's gonna be hard. You're gonna need to cultivate that movement over time. More and more people who are joining you. I actually lost in my beginning train.
Yeah, yeah.
But
There's a lot of education to be
There's
done.
a lot of work that needs to be done.
Oh,
on
yeah.
this. So the act seems, from our conversation, or albeit brief and not, as deep as an hour can allow us to get into
Yeah,
something this dense.
yeah.
The act appears to be well thought out. It appears to be rounded. I'm not gonna go well rounded just yet, just because I haven't gotten a chance to review it. I don't want to say like, this is an amazing act, but I trust you. And
It sounds too good to be true.
it does. There we go. And but my fear, and this is what I said when I first heard it, and I'm gonna reiterate it again.
Yeah,
Is you're up against people who aren't out there to make sense.
yeah, I
They're out there
agree.
to make sense.
Yeah,
And they're looking for their own best interest, and that's one type of people, and the other ones are the ones that are never going to budge no matter what. You can tell them the sky is blue until you're blue in the face, and as long as they believe the sky is green, and that is what their granddaddy believed,
yeah,
their daddy believed, and they will believe it as well. And that, in my opinion, from a lay person's perspective, is something that should be definitely considered. But
it is.
it is. But once again, I'm still gonna maintain that position that you're so much more well versed in this type of activism in this field than I am, and the fact that you're like, that's fine,
Yeah,
totally fine.
yeah,
Watch this.
yeah.
So-
the burden of proof is on me.
So I trust you. Before I let you go, I think this will be a fairly easy question to answer.
Yeah.
I ask this question to everyone on my podcast. I'm sure if you heard the last podcast last year as well. What makes you special?
All the
Go.
weed I smoke.
That is, I mean, I'm sure you've been enlightened a few times while you were high. So we'll go with that.
That's it, man.
Harrison Schultz, 420 Fight Club.
That's what's up.
Thank you so much for coming by.
No problem.
And, we'll definitely have you on in the coming months to follow.
Hopefully after we all get our bail out.
That was Harrison Schultz of the 420 Fight Club and formerly of the Occupy Wall Street movement. Yes, I didn't lie to you. It got a little crazy, and it was a lot of fun. I hope all of my listeners enjoyed this as much as I did, because I really need to have him on again, especially given our current political climate as well. So it'll be fun to follow up with him again in a few months, just to see what he's up to and get his take on certain transgressions. I'm sure that will follow. So once again, thank you. If I haven't said it before, thank you to anyone who's listening. It means a lot to me to have you share your time with me, and I hope that you enjoyed this as much as I do. So this is Marlon Dennis with the Beautiful Minds. Until next time.